Well, the big guy is leaving all of his troubles behind as he goes on island time. President Biden getting one last taxpayer-funded trip to the beaches of sunny St. Croix and letting his recently pardoned first son, Hunter, tag along. The lame duck will be there until the new year and will have plenty of time to clear his mind, or whatever's left of it, as he grapples with leaving office in 25 days with his legacy in shambles. Joe is hitting his lowest approval rating since taking office, and he's hated by his own party, who blame him for Kamala's bruising loss in November. And yet, despite it all, there's very little that Joe Biden regrets. According to the New York Times, the president does not regret debating Mr. Trump in June, which led to his campaign imploding. He has no regrets on naming his economic plan Bidenomics, and he does not regret moving forward with his disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. Really, Joe?
Any other regrets that you have? Anything you wish you would have done differently?
Well, I guess if I thought a lot about it, it'd be something I would have done specifically, but not generically. I set out to do two things: restore America's leadership in the world. I think we've done that. And two, to generate opportunity for ordinary people.
It's no wonder why the president's friends and allies in the media are doing their best to rehab Joe's tarnished legacy, with one liberal commentator suggesting they name a tunnel after him.
It should be called the Biden Tunnel. It is the most complex infrastructure project funded by Joe Biden. No one could get it done. No one. Then came Joe Biden.
We're going to have a responsibility, and I certainly, whatever I might be doing by way of a day job, I will be reminding everybody who will listen, and quite a few people who maybe won't, that these things are happening because Joe Biden.
He is that standard bearer from what the founding fathers put in place. He wants checks and balances, and he wants to make sure everything goes well.
Well, Tom, he's president for 4 years, and all he gets is a dang tunnel.
It's unbelievable. I mean, we went down that list of what he thought were his accomplishments, and you went over some of the things, the disastrous withdrawal, the economy, I mean, printing money during COVID and, essentially causing the inflation that we're experiencing now. But none of it compares to what I think is his lasting, shameful legacy. And that was, I saw his Christmas message when he said, we have to come together as people. And we're neighbors, we're not enemies. He treated the opposition as an enemy for his entire term in office. It was a lie from the beginning. The first lie was when he said the whole reason I got into this thing was because of the people with the white supremacists with the torches. He started the campaign on a lie and he continued it. And he hasn't given it up. And then he has the gall to give this Christmas message and say we have to look at each other as friends and neighbors and not enemies, when he is still playing that enemy game, and he's still doing it with Donald Trump and the whole MAGA movement. Yeah, so Joey, he's running away from his legacy, the media. He ditched a typical end-of-the-year press conference, not talking to the American people, and now he's going to go hide out for a while in St. Croix.
If I were him, I wouldn't come back till February. I mean, I would just stay. Like, why not? What are they going to do? Like, they're not going to impeach you at this point. Then they'd have to make Kamala president, and they don't like her anymore either. Listen, in politics, there's always someone or something to blame. So when you start questioning him about his legacy, it wasn't that he had a bad debate performance or it wasn't his message or his ideas or even his legacy. He had a cold. That's not his fault. In Afghanistan, the withdrawal in Afghanistan wasn't his fault. He didn't order the generals against their own advice to take everyone out of Afghanistan the way they did. That was Trump's fault because of an agreement he made with the Taliban 2 years before, a year before. He didn't kill the economy's resurgence with regulation and inflation. No, that was COVID's fault. COVID is this convenient thing that sometimes is the problem and sometimes isn't. That's what politicians do. The problem is he's had an exceptionally and acutely bad result from so many of his policies that I don't think he gets to do the disappear and come back in a few years and everybody likes him again. Part of it is, he's older than most presidents leaving office, so he doesn't have as long of a runway. And the other part is these things are probably going to stick with us for a while. I know President Trump is going to come in and help. I think when President Trump came in 2016, we were being held back by Obama's policies. Now we're broken. It's a different job now, and it's going to take longer to fix.
So, Dr. Sapphire, Joe Biden is trying to go out with all of these pardons, saying this is part of his legacy. But when it comes to the election and people saying we want him to go, basically the Democratic Party not allowing him to run for a second term by kicking him off the campaign trail and then electing Trump in a landslide, both electorally and in the popular vote, Democrats also are not thrilled that he's still in office and are happy to see him leaving town.
Well, I think it's equal. I think Democrats, Republicans, and everyone in between are kind of happy to see the Biden administration leave the White House. I think it was said perfectly in the Wall Street Journal. I mean, this was an explosive piece, and it wasn't necessarily condemning a single man. It was an indictment of the entire Democratic Party and the co-conspirators, which have been the mainstream media. President Biden said that one of the things he wanted to do was regain our leadership on the world stage. But I think the biggest question that was highlighted in the Wall Street Journal and that we've been talking about for 4 years is who's actually leading the country. And it doesn't seem like it's been President Biden. And, you know, I want to be moving forward, and I want to see the Trump administration only move forward with progress and, you know, peace and prosperity here in the United States. But I do wonder, will there be any accountability for the people who did cover up the cognitive decline and lack of function of Biden, whether it is Kamala Harris, the VP, KJP, the press secretary? Like, is someone responsible? Kevin O'Connor, White House doctor.
Yeah, and as we know, a lot of those decisions that were made, the policy positions had pretty negative impacts on people's lives, whether it was COVID or other issues. So, Jessica, Biden's disapproval rating grew to 66% just this month. It's getting worse as we inch toward President Trump taking office on January 20th. So what does Biden's legacy really look like as he leaves? And to Joey's point, can he maybe come back in a couple of years and have people look more fondly upon his presidency?
I think that definitely happens. I mean, that happens with every president. That happened with President Trump. I mean, the American people in 2020 said they didn't want Trump again. And then 2 years later, once the campaigning started again, they looked more favorably upon the Trump economy and ended up reelecting him for another term. So, yes, I think that there will be more fondness about the Biden years after that. And I think that President Biden needs a better answer to, do you have any regrets? I never think it's cute to say that everything was perfect or that you haven't been reflecting upon it. We all reflect upon decisions we've made in our lives and events that we wish had gone better. And that is, you know, to the umpteenth degree if you are the leader of the free world. But I think that there is another side to this story right now, and that, you know, President Biden thinks, you know, people don't want me around in Washington right now. I'm entitled to a vacation, and he certainly is. But just in the past few weeks, we've seen his 235th judge confirmed. So now he's surpassed President Trump's record in terms of that. We're going to have averaged out to 3% GDP growth. It's pretty hot. The stock market is so hot that soon to be President Trump round two wants to take credit for it. Holiday sales up 3.8%. I mean, there are indicators of a very strong and healthy economy and of a lot of success for President Biden. And I think that in a couple of years, once he is out of the spotlight from all of this and people have not forgotten necessarily that Kamala Harris lost, but have moved on from a lot of the material that was in that Wall Street Journal piece, which was certainly explosive, that they will look differently upon him.
But Joey, don't you think you could make the argument that the holiday spending is up and the economy is doing well because Trump won a month ago?
Like, guys,
a month and a half
you
ago.
didn't get magic
People
money
people are feeling like they're safe now, that they have someone coming in who's going to give them more opportunity.
So Jimmy Carter had to do a lot of work post-presidency to get into anyone's good graces. No one looks back on the Carter years and say, man, he did a decent job. And on top of that, you're right. The president is still doing presidential things. He just made sure that a bunch of murderers and rapists will outlive him. So good on him. Good job, President, from St. Croix or wherever. You just keep it up, bud.
It is true.
Some people don't believe in the death penalty.
That's
this isn't like, please go out and kill more people.
Well, he believes in it just for three people. That's all.
He believes in it for people who are terrorists and
just
have hate-motivated mass murderers.
I'm just saying there,
but that has been, he has had that since the beginning. He said there will be a federal moratorium on capital punishment, except for people who fall into those two categories. You can disagree with the principle of it, but he didn't hallucinate it. He didn't just make it up one day.
He did do it, and there are plenty of families speaking out. But he will be leaving office in 25 days, and Trump will be in.